Yeah. In last class, we have discussed on some of the remaining classes exist in the Java IDE. So I think last class we have discussed about some additional classes such as buffered input stream, buffered output stream. Then we switch over to some additional streams like print stream, pushback stream, which is specific to input. Then we discussed about some of the classes like object input stream as well as object output stream. So if you want to work threads, in such a case, you may simply use a piped input stream as well as piped output stream, right? So today I'm going to cover some more classes, so which are all specific to character-oriented data. So if we are taking input stream, output stream, and all its subclasses, which are all going to process byte-oriented data. So whatever the data written, whatever the data read from the stream, it's a kind of byte, right? So generally, if you are taking the read method as well as write method, which takes byte array or a single byte as an argument, which means that all the classes going to process byte-oriented data. So in today's session, I'm going to cover set of classes which are all relevant to Java IO. Here we are going to take character-oriented data. Instead of bytes, here I'm going to pass characters, right? So if you are taking the input stream ECE, if you are using input stream, which is actually considered ECE as a byte array. In case of, if you are taking some of the classes we are going to discuss in today's session, if you are taking all those classes, ECE is considered as a character array. For example, E is a character, C is a character, finally E is a character, right? So this is all about today's session. In today's session, I'm going to cover a certain number of classes which are all specific to character-oriented data, right? Before that, I'm going to ask few questions which are all relevant to last class, right? So in last class, we have covered buffered input stream, buffered output stream, data input stream, data output stream. Then we switch over to some additional streams. So where we covered pushback input stream, print stream, object input stream, object output stream, finally piped input stream and piped output stream, right? The first question is, what is the difference between file output stream and buffered output stream? What is the difference? What is the difference between file output stream and buffered output stream? What is the difference? Guys, what is the difference? So you may take simply output stream. So if you felt difficult while comparing file output stream as well as buffered output stream, you may take output stream versus buffered output stream. What is the difference between a general output stream and buffered output stream? What is the difference? So you simply take output
stream, we can write to the memory.
Yeah, okay. What about buffered output stream?
So it internally used to store the data.
Yeah, so it actually uses some buffer, some temporary memory to store your streams, to store your byte-oriented data. Buffered output stream or buffered input stream going to use some temporary memory. The temporary memory is known as a buffer, right? So the next question is about what is the difference between byte array input stream and buffered input stream. Difference between byte array input stream and buffered input stream. What is the difference?
Sir, in byte array, everything is need to be converted into bytes before
Yeah,
writing.
okay. What about buffered input stream?
There is no need for conversion.
Yeah,
into
so
bytes.
we need to think everything in terms of bytes if we are using byte array input stream, but we can pass a byte or file, whatever it is, as an argument for buffered input stream. Now, one more question with the same classes is, what is the similarity between a byte array input stream and a buffered input stream? So what is the similarity? What is the similarity? We know the additional feature of buffered input stream. Just recall whether the same functionality exists in byte array input stream or not. What is the similarity? So what is the additional feature of this buffered input stream? The same was discussed in the last question. What is the additional functionality in the buffered IO? Yeah, it uses some buffer. It uses buffered memory. What about byte array input stream? Byte array input stream is also maintains buffer, right? To store your byte-oriented data, it uses buffer. The similarity is both classes uses internal buffer, right? So the next question is, what is the purpose of byte array output stream? What is the purpose of byte array output stream?
It is used to write common data into memory.
So if you want to write your data into multiple files, right, through your stream, we may simply use a byte array output stream, right? What about data IO? Just summarize why we need a data input stream as well as data output stream. So where we have seen some methods like write int, write char, right? So in terms of input stream, we have seen redouble, right? So what is the purpose of this data input stream as well as data output stream?
A data output stream allows an
Yeah, please repeat.
Primitive data types.
Yeah, it is mainly used to access a primitive data type. Right. So any other observation out of this data IO? Any other observation? Any other observation about data input stream as well as data output stream? So the one more functionality is if you want to read a complete line, there is only one option in the input stream. That is, you need to use data input stream, right? So we cannot completely read a line using any other classes. So which provide a method to read a complete line. That is the additional feature of this data IO, right? So can anyone tell the difference between print stream as well as output stream? Print stream and output stream. Both are similar or different? Guys, both are similar or different while comparing print stream with respect to output stream? What is the similarity between the print stream and output stream? What is the similarity?
Used to
Yeah,
write
so
the
this
data.
is mainly belongs to output stream. So if you are taking a plain output stream or a print stream, which belongs to output stream, which means that you can write your data, right? So then what is the difference between print stream and output stream? So the differentiation is actually made by the additional functionality of print stream. What's that? Which is specific to cleaning the stream.
It automatically flushes the data.
Yeah, so if you are taking
Flushes
print
the
stream,
data.
print stream automatically invoking the method flush, right? But at the same time, if you are using output stream or any other output stream classes, you need to manually invoke the method flush, right? So that is the main difference between print stream as well as output stream, right? So with the knowledge of all the input stream as well as output stream related classes, the main constraint here is these are all the classes specific to byte oriented data, right? So in today's class, we are going to focus on set of classes. Here I'm going to consider data in terms of characters, right? Right. So in today's session, we are going to focus on a list of classes. The first class is console. The next classes, which is specific to character-oriented data, that is the parent class, which is reader and writer class. Right. So as like an input stream, here we are going to consider the class called reader. Similar to output stream, here we are going to focus on the class called writer. Right. So writer class is used to work with output stream. Reader class is used to work with input stream. Next, as like a file input stream, file output stream, if you want to work with the file in terms of character oriented data, you may simply use a file reader as well as file writer class. Similar to buffered input stream and buffered output stream, here you may use a buffered reader as well as buffered writer. Next, now we are familiar with input stream as well as output stream. In today's session, we are going to focus on certain number of classes. Those classes are specific to character-oriented data. As a programmer, as a Java developer, if you want to combine byte-oriented data and character-oriented data, in such a case, you may simply use the classes like input stream reader as well as output stream writer. So from the name itself, it actually combines byte-oriented class as well as character-oriented class. So input stream is a class name of byte-oriented data. Reader is a class which is specific to character-oriented data. So similar to input stream and output stream, here we are having two different classes. Right. So the first class is specific to console class. So this is normally to process your data. So if you want to work with your internal console unit, you may simply use the class called console. So which is not specific to character, which is not specific to byte, right? So this is a normal class. If you want to work with your system console, you may simply use console class. So normally if you want to receive the input or if you want to process the input from the system console, you may use the class called Java console, right? So it provides the methods to read the text as well as password. So there are two functionalities which are all specific to console class. You may simply read the text content from your console, and sometimes you may read the password from the console. So if you are read a password using console class, right? So for security purpose, the password is not displayed in your console. right? But as a Java developer, we can read the content using JavaString, right? That is the additional feature of this console class. So as like all other classes, console class exists in the Java package called java.io.start, right? So the primary feature of this console class is this console class, that is Java console class, attached with the system console internally, right? So whatever the class is written in your environment, that is automatically connected with your system console. That is the main advantage of this console class. The syntax for using the console class is given here. If you want to read a text from the console unit, the syntax will be like this. So string, text is your string variable. So here I am going to read the line from my console, right? So the syntax will be like system.console.readLine. So system is a class, we all aware of it, which is exists in the package java.lang.star. So with the help of this system class, here I am invoking console method, which was defined in the system class, but which is actually declared in the console class, right? So here we are actually adapting function overriding, right? So with the reference of console method, here I am invoking readLine, which means that here I am simply invoking the console, that is console method, which was exists in the system class. Along with that, I am invoking the readLine method, which means that if any information written in your console that was read in this line, so which was finally stored to text variable, right? So if you want to print the data, here I am using some system.out.println statement, so which is going to print the data. So whatever data read using the above line, right? So here I'm going to give an example for console class. So we need to import a package. So the package is java.io.start. So this is first one as a package, right? So next I'm going to start the program. So first I need to declare a class. So here the class name is readText. So this is a main class. Within that I'm defining the main method. Okay, can anyone tell, okay, why we are using the keywords like public, static and void? Just recall. Why we are using the keywords public, static, void while defining the main method? Just recall and tell me the answer.
Public, since the access will be posted.
Yeah, so if you want to access your method from anywhere, we need to use the keyword public. What about static?
So to access static methods, we want to use static.
So what is the advantage of static method?
No
What is the
need for
advantage of
object
static method?
creations. No need for
Yeah,
object
so
creation.
without object, we can access the method, right? What about void? What about void? It's actually a return type. So here the main method going to return null, which means that there is no values returned from the main method. That's why here the return type is mentioned as void, right? So it always takes string array as an argument, right? So now coming to our topic, right? So the main objective is I'm going to use console class. Here I'm creating the object called C, which is assigned with system.console, which means that I'm assigning the system console to my console class object. So console class object is C. Here I'm mapping the system control console with respect to my console class. Next, I am reading the line. So here I'm using C dot read line. So which was equivalent to system dot console dot read line, right? So which was given in the syntax. So here I'm using console class. So instead of giving the everything in the single line, here I'm using the console class, which means that we can assign system console to your console class object, right? So next I'm going to print the data, right? So this was an example for very basic text. On the other hand, if we want to read a password, right? So where we need to use the method called read password. So which is also exists in the class called console, right? So the first one is so there is a problem with Microsoft Office. Wait for a second. Right, so first we need to import a package, that is java.io.console. So if you want to include all the IO classes, you may simply replace this IO, that is console by star, right? So this was import all the classes. So next I'm going to use read password method within the main method. So within the main method, I'm using the console class, so which was assigned to system.console. Next, I'm popping up some statements, so which asks for your password. So here I'm going to convert my password into a character array. So this is the assignment. So the main statement here is c.read password. So if you are using read password method, your text is invisible in your console unit, right? That is the advantage of this read password method. So next, to print the data, here I'm converting the character array into the string value. So for that, here I'm using value of method. So value of method exists in the string class. So here I'm using string.value of character. So here I'm printing the password. So which print the value, whatever the value given from the user. So next, coming to the classes which are all specific to character-oriented data, right? The first class is specific to output stream. Here, the class is writer class. So it is an abstract class for writing to character streams. So if you are taking output stream, which is specific to byte streams, here the stream is characters. So we know what is stream. Stream is a sequence of data. Here the stream consists of character-oriented data. So this consists of the methods like close. If you want to terminate the stream, character stream, you may simply use close method. If you want to clean your stream, you may use flush method. If you want to write your data, you may use write method. So here the key insight is we need to pass character array as an argument. So it writes an array of characters, right? Similar to output stream, if you want to write a specific character, you may use this write integer c, which means that it's going to write a single character into the string, right? So this is the crisp overview about writer class. So now, so if for example, if you want to write the string, you may use a string as an argument. So write followed by string object as an argument, right? So it's simply pass string value to the character string. The next one is specific to reader class, which is relevant to input stream. So as like a writer class, Java reader class is an abstract class for reading character streams. So similar to writer class, if you want to close your stream, you may simply use close method. To read a single character, use read method. To read a character array, right? So if you want to read a character array with some specific length, you may use read followed by character array, which takes as an argument. All right, so now consider about the example which uses a file, that is a writer as well as reader. So here I'm going to use a file reader as well as file writer along with the reader as well as writer class, because reader and writer class are the abstract class, which act as a super class for all other classes, like file reader, file writer, buffered reader, buffered writer, right? So here I'm going to consider file reader as well as file writer as a subclass, right? So I will cover file reader as well as file writer in the upcoming slides. We cannot use writer and reader class alone. That's why here I'm using file reader as well as file writer along with the reader and writer class. One second. So the problem is repeating again and again. So I'm going to use Google Slides instead of this PowerPoint. Right. So now the focus is about now the focus is about writer class as well as reader class, right? So the first line is all about package import. So we are including all the classes exist in the IO package. So next is the example class. It is a public class. Here I am considering as a writer demo. Within that, I am defining the main method. This main method throws IO exception, right? So here I am declaring the exception type. Then I'm creating an object for writer class, that is W, which is actually assigned with its subclass. The subclass is file writer. So here I am assigning, here actually I am adapting typecasting, right? So the superclass is assigned with subclass constructor, that is writer W, which is equal to new file writer of my file argument, right? Here I am considered test.txt, which was exist under the E drive. Okay, next I'm going to consider the string, that is ECE. Next I'm going to pass string as an argument, right? So we have discussed about 3 different methods. You may pass single character or character array. You may also pass string as an argument. So here I am passing string as an argument. With the reference of writer class object, I am invoking write method, which takes string as an argument, right? So finally I'm closing the writer string. That's all. So finally, once you execute this logic, so the string ECE will be written to the text file, that is test.txt, right? So the next we are going to focus on reader class. So similar to writer class, here I am going to consider file writer, because reader class is an abstract class. So under the public class, I have defined the main method. Here also I have declared exception, so which lead to IO exception. So next I'm creating an object for reader class, which takes file as an argument. Then I'm using a variable I, which is going to process my while loop. So to find the end of the stream, I'm using this variable. So here I'm using statement while loop. So actually there is a typographical mistake here, which is actually right. So the changes, you need to replace this FR by reader, right? So simply copy it from the file reader program. That's why it is FR, right? So you need to consider reader instead of this FR. Right, so the statement will be like I is equal to reader dot read of not is equal to -1. So until the empty line or empty stream in your input stream, it will read the characters. Right, so within that, here I'm going to convert the values into the type of character, because if you are taking any streams, finally at the end it will be the numerical value, right? So if you are taking a read, the return type of read method is actually an integer. That's why here we are actually doing the type conversion. So for example, if you are finding the definition for read method, the method signature will be like integer space read, right? That's why we are repeatedly doing the type conversion to print the actual character value, right? So finally, I'm closing the reader class using an object reader, that is reader dot close, right? So finally, if you have already written ECE, so it will print the output like ECE, right? So the next one is all about file writer as well as file reader. Similar to file input stream as well as file output stream, if you want to work with file, especially if you want to handle a file, use this file writer as well as file reader class. File writer class is used to write character-oriented data to a file. If you want to write byte-oriented data, better you need to choose file output stream, right? So it is a character-oriented class which is used for file handling in Java. The main objective is file handling, which consists of the methods like write, which takes a string object as an argument, which is write a string into the output stream. If you want to write a specific character, you may pass write of char followed by C. So here you may write a single character. Next, if you want to write a character array, use the method like write, which takes character array as an argument. If you want to clean the data, whatever the data exists in the file writer stream, you may use flush method. If you want to close, that is terminate the writer class, use close method. Similar to file writer, if you want to work with the input stream, that is if you want to read anything from your file, which is specific to character oriented, use file reader class. So file reader class is used to read the data from the file. So it returns the data in byte format as like a file input stream. That's why we are doing the type conversion. So why it returned byte format? It was defined already in such a format, right? So if you are taking a method definition of read, which is actually written byte data, right? So it is actually a character-oriented class. It is mainly used for file handling. So in this slide, I'm going to give an example for file reader as well as file writer. So which is actually resembles your reader class as well as writer class. Here, instead of creating an object for writer class, reader class, here I'm going to use a file writer class as well as file reader class. In last example, we have adapted typecasting. Here there is no typecasting. So here the file writer object is assigned with file writer object. File reader object is assigned with the constructor call of file reader object. Right? So the first line is import package. Here I'm importing all the classes in the IO package. Next, there's a writer demo. Within that, I'm declaring the main method, which declared with IO exception. So here I'm creating an object for file writer instead of writer. So which was assigned with file writer constructor, which takes test.txt file as an argument. So here I'm going to write the string ECE. So the syntax will be like file writer object dot write of ECE. So which is equivalent to the last example. So in last example, I had created a string object. So in the next line, I have passed the string object as an argument. Here I'm simply passing string as an argument. This is a different use case. So finally, I'm closing the file writer stream by using fw.close. So on the other hand, I'm going to focus on reader class. So similar to writer class, here I'm going to use file reader instead of a reader. So file reader, fr is equal to new file reader, which takes your file as an argument. Next, I'm declaring the variable I to check the end of the file, right? So within the while loop, here I am assigning I with fr.read. So if it is not equal to 1, you will receive a byte, individual byte in each iteration, right? So within that, if you want to print the actual character, here you may simply use a basic type conversion, that is char of I. So finally, I'm closing the stream by using fr.close. Okay, now coming to buffer reader as well as buffered writer. Right, this was very similar to buffered input stream as well as buffered output stream. If you want to use a buffer in your character-oriented stream, you may simply prefer buffered reader as well as buffered writer, right? So, which is used to read a text from the character-based input stream, right? So, it is used to read the data line by line by using readline method. So there is a method exists in the buffer reader that is called readline. So if you want to read the complete line, you need to use a buffered reader. Next, the performance is fast because of buffer. So it uses buffer internally. So similar to buffered input stream, which is actually inherit from the reader class. If you are taking buffered input stream, which is actually inherits input stream, here it is actually inherits reader class. So the methods are read, if you want to read a single character. If you want to read an entire line, you may use read line method. If you want to close your connection, simply use close method. So if you want to write your data, you may use a buffered writer class, so which is used to provide buffering for writer instances. Next, the performance is fast as like a buffer reader because it uses buffer. So similar to reader class, this buffered writer class inherits writer class, which means that if you are reading the file, that is buffered writer.java, definitely it will have the statement like buffered writer extends writer, right? So that's why I'm telling that it inherits the super class, that is write class. Similar to read line, so if you want to add a new line by writing a line separator, you may use new line method, so which add a new line, right? So if you want to read a data, we can use read line. If you want to add a new line in your stream, you may use new line method, right? Similarly, the main objective is you are allowed to write your data. If you want to write a single character, you may use write of integer c. Next, if you want to write a specific portion as like output stream, if you want to write a specific character, right? So if you want, here why I'm quoting character in the sense it's going to process character oriented data. If you are taking output stream, this is byte. If you want to write a specific bytes, we need to use a byte array followed by initial offset followed by length. Here it takes string as an argument. So that is the difference between buffer writer as well as buffered output stream. So if you want to write a partial data into the stream, you may use write method, which takes 3 arguments. So this example represent buffered reader as well as a buffered writer. So here I'm creating an object for file reader. In the next line, I'm using buffered writer. So instead of writing the file directly, here I'm using buffer. That's why I'm invoking the object B with the reference of buffered writer class. Next, I'm going to write the input string, that is ECE, right? So finally, I'm closing the buffered reader. Afterwards, if you want, you may close the file writer string. So which will be like fw.close. If you want, you may close. So why I'm not closing file writer in the sense I'm not written anything into the file writer. Here the write operation is made for buffered writer, right? So still the channel is empty if you are taking file writer. That's why I am not closing the file writer object. But if you want, you may close the file writer object. So the next part is all about buffered reader. Here I'm going to read the content from the file. So first I'm defining the file reader object fr, which takes test.txt as an argument. So here I'm using buffered reader, so which takes file reader as an argument, similar to buffered writer. Next, I'm going to use a while loop, which is going to return individual character in my file, that is test.txt. So here I'm going to print the actual character. So I'm doing some basic type conversion. So here I'm closing buffer reader as well as file reader. So this is for your understanding, right? So here I have closed buffer reader as well as file reader. The next one is specific to input stream reader. So I already told that if you want to combine input stream, that is byte oriented data as well as character oriented data, if you want to convert byte to character, you may simply use an input stream reader, right? So input stream reader is a bridge from byte stream to character stream. So we can find the concept from the name itself. So it reads bytes and decode them into a character using some characters, right? So it may be like UTF-8, UTF-16. This depends on your environment, right? So it having the method called read to read the single character. If you want to close the stream, you may use close method. So this is an example for an input stream reader. So here I'm creating an object for input stream. Here I'm considering input stream, right? So we all aware of it. Input stream is a super class for file input stream. So here I'm simply adapting typecasting. So input stream object IS is assigned with the invocation of file input stream. So which takes a test.txt as an argument. Next, I'm going to convert the input stream object into a reader object, right? So here I'm creating an object reader. So the object name is also reader, which is assigned with new input stream reader of my actual byte oriented input stream. So I already told that input stream reader is used to do the conversion from the byte stream to character stream. Next, I'm going to read the data. So here I'm using the loop, right? So here it is I is equal to, again there is a typographical mistake. It is not B, which is reader, right? So I is equal to reader dot read of not is equal to -1. So it normally read the byte. So if I need to return the byte value, so we need to do the type conversion. So within the system.out.println, I'm using the type conversion. So I'm converting the byte to character. So that's all. So here I'm converting the input stream to reader stream. So which is specific to byte, which is specific to character. The next one is output stream writer. Similar to input stream reader, if you want to work with output stream as well as writer, use this class. So which is used to convert character stream to byte stream. The characters are encoded into a bytes using some character set, right? Such as UTF-8 and UTF-16, which just depends on your mission. So similar to read method, it has some methods, right? So if you are taking write method, any write method calls the encoding converter, which converts the characters into a byte, right? So the method exists in the output stream writer classes are write method, which takes a single integer value, which is going to write a single character. If you want to write a portion of a string, you may use a write with 3 arguments, that is string s, offset, and length. So in this example, I am going to represent output stream writer. So within the main method, which declares IO exception, I am going to use output stream writer. So if you want to use output stream writer, first I need to create an object for output stream. So output stream object is OS, which was assigned with file output stream. So similar to input stream reader example, here I'm using output stream as well as file output stream. So the super class is output stream. Here the subclass is file output stream. Again, it is a typecasting, right? So here I'm assigning writer object to my output stream writer. So which takes my output stream object OS, right? So next I'm going to write some values. Here I'm writing some string hello world into the file test.txt. Finally, I'm closing the writer stream, that is by w.close. Right? That's all about Java IO. Right? So in today's session, we all discussed about console class. Then we focused on a reader as well as writer class, which is specific to character streams. Then to handle the file in terms of character streams, you may use file reader or file writer class. If you need to use buffer internally, in such a case, you may use buffer reader as well as buffer writer. If you want to combine byte stream as well as character stream, in such a case, you may simply use input stream reader as well as output stream writer. Right? So up to this, your unit 3 is over. So the Java IO classes are completed. Right? So if you have any doubt up to the Java IO class, please ask.